The arrival of the human twin sons of planet Therion were setting when a strange figure appeared at the gates of the alien city. The guards froze as they saw the tall human step forward. His name was Ethan, and his calm eyes scanned the crowd of aliens watching him from behind glowing towers and spiked walls. No human had ever dared to come here before. Therion was known as a dangerous world, home to wild beasts and proud warriors. The aliens feared no one, but this human, with dusty boots and a quiet smile, walked in as if he belonged. Lyra, a young alien girl with silver skin and bright green eyes, stood among the watchers. She felt anger rise in her heart. Why is a human here? She wondered. Their laws were clear. No outsider could survive here, especially not near Korath, their fiercest guardian, a beast so dangerous that even Therion's strongest warriors stayed away. The city elder stepped forward. His voice was loud and sharp. Human, why have you come to this place? Do you not know our guardian will tear you apart? But Ethan did not answer quickly. He simply looked around, as if he was searching for something. Then, without a word, he walked straight toward Korath's cage at the center of the square. The crowd gasped. Korath was huge, nearly 3 times Ethan's size. His black fur bristled, and his yellow eyes burned with fury. He growled loud, shaking the ground under their feet. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. This human was a fool. No one had ever walked toward Korath like this. Many aliens had tried to train the beast before. All had failed and died. Ethan stopped just a few feet from the cage. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Slowly, he crouched down and locked eyes with Korath. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, Korath roared, a deep, wild sound that echoed through the entire city. The crowd stepped back in fear. Lyra clenched her fists. This is the end for him, she thought. But Ethan didn't move. Instead, he raised one hand slowly, palm open, showing no weapon. He whispered something, soft words that no one could understand. His voice was low and gentle. Even though the language was unknown, it seemed to reach Korath's mind. Korath stopped roaring. His huge head tilted to one side, confused. Then, unbelievably, the beast took a step forward, lowering its body, as if ready to listen. The crowd stared in shock. Lyra's heart pounded. How could this happen? She thought. No one, not even their best trainers, had ever calmed Korath like this. Ethan kept speaking softly. He moved closer, now only inches from the bars of the cage. He knelt down, meeting the beast at eye level. Korath sniffed the air. His eyes, once burning with hate, now seemed almost curious. For the first time in Therion's history, their untamable guardian did not attack. He did not roar or threaten. Instead, he sat down slowly, his heavy tail curling around his legs. The elder's staff shook in his hands. The aliens whispered to each other, confused and afraid. Lyra could not believe what she saw. This human, this outsider, had done in minutes what no one in generations could do. Then Ethan finally spoke aloud. His voice was clear and steady. I am not here to fight. I am here because you need help, and Korath knows it. Silence fell again. Lyra's mind raced. How could a human know that? She thought. And why did Korath trust him so quickly? In that moment, as the suns disappeared beyond the alien mountains, Lyra realized something. This human was different. He had a secret, and she would have to discover it before it was too late. But one thing was clear to all who watched. This human had just tamed their deadliest guardian, and no one could understand how. The beast's challenge night fell on Therion, but the air remained tense. The aliens had gathered around the central square, whispering and watching Ethan closely. None of them could explain what had happened. Lyra couldn't stop staring at the strange human. She had spent her whole life fearing Korath, their wild guardian, and yet this outsider had approached him calmly, spoken strange words, and made the beast obey. But things were far from over. The elder chief stepped forward. His voice was cold and loud. Human, if you think you have tamed our guardian, prove it. Ride Korath through the dark woods tonight. The crowd gasped. The dark woods were cursed. No one entered them after dark. The forest was alive with deadly plants and strange shadows. Many warriors had disappeared there forever. Korath growled softly beside Ethan, as if he understood the command. The elder smirked. He was sure the human would refuse or die trying, but Ethan simply nodded. "I accept your challenge," he said calmly. The aliens murmured in disbelief. Lyra felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Why would he agree so easily? As the gates of the city opened, Korath's cage was unlocked. The huge beast stepped out, stretching its muscular body. All the aliens backed away, except Ethan. Ethan placed a hand gently on Korath's thick fur. The beast didn't flinch. Slowly, Ethan climbed onto Korath's back. The crowd was silent. No one had ever dared ride Korath before. Lyra's heart raced. She felt a strange pull inside her. She wanted to follow them. She needed to understand who this human really was without thinking. She slipped into the shadows and quietly followed. As Ethan and Korath moved toward the edge of the dark woods, the trees were tall and twisted, their branches like claws reaching for the sky. Strange lights flickered between the trunks, and an eerie wind howled through the leaves. Even Korath hesitated at the forest's edge, but Ethan whispered again in that strange, unknown language. The beast calmed and stepped into the darkness, hidden. Behind a rock, Lyra watched them disappear into the forest. She knew she shouldn't go further, but something inside her refused to turn back. She crept after them, keeping her distance. Deep inside the woods, something strange happened. A deadly vine dropped from a tree above Ethan's head, fast and silent like a snake. But before it could strike, Ethan leaned sideways. He avoided it without even looking up. Then a glowing predator leapt from the bushes. Korath roared and lunged forward, but Ethan whispered again, and the beast stopped mid-attack. Lyra watched in disbelief. It was as if the forest itself could not touch them, as if Ethan could sense every danger before it happened. She realized something shocking. This human wasn't just lucky. He was prepared. But how? For hours, Ethan and Korath moved deeper, into the cursed woods, avoiding traps and monsters as if they could see them all in advance. Finally, they emerged on the other side, alive and unharmed. The crowd waiting at the forest's far edge gasped as they saw Ethan and Korath step out under the pale moonlight. The elder chief looked pale, his lips tight with fear. His test had failed. Lyra felt her breath catch again. Who is this human? She thought. He had passed the impossible challenge. He had tamed the untamable beast, and now he had conquered the cursed woods. But the question that haunted her mind the most was one she could not yet answer. What did this human truly want? The first touch of trust moonlight bathed Therion's valley. As Ethan rode Korath back into the city, the alien crowd fell silent, their disbelief heavy in the air. Not only had the human survived the cursed dark woods, he returned unharmed. As if danger itself respected him, Korath moved calmly beneath him, not as a beast, but as a loyal companion. His massive paws made no sound on the stone path. His golden eyes glowed gently, no longer wild. Lyra watched from a corner, her mind racing. This was no ordinary human. She needed answers. She stepped forward as Ethan dismounted. For a moment their eyes met, and she felt something strange, a calm confidence in his gaze, and something else, kindness. Before she could speak, the elder chief raised his staff and declared loudly, "The human has passed the challenge. But we must know how. Korath was our fiercest guardian. Why does this outsider control him?" The aliens all turned toward Ethan, hungry for an explanation. Ethan gently placed his hand on Korath's thick fur again. The beast leaned into his touch like a tame animal. It was impossible, yet undeniable. Then Ethan finally spoke. His voice was soft but clear enough for all to hear. "Where I come from," he began, "I learned that trust is not demanded. It is offered first." The aliens frowned, confused by his strange words. Ethan crouched and stroked Korath's massive head. Korath never needed to be controlled. He needed to be understood. "I listened to his pain, his loneliness, and I offered him peace." A quiet gasp ran through the crowd. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. Loneliness, peace, these were not things anyone here had thought about Korath before. He was always seen as a weapon, a monster. Ethan continued, Your guardian has lived a life locked in chains, misunderstood, feared, but never truly seen. I looked into his eyes and promised him something different. Freedom, respect, the crowd murmured. Uncomfortable with these ideas, Lyra couldn't hold back anymore. She stepped closer and asked, "How can a human, a stranger, see into Korath's heart when none of us could?" Ethan looked at her gently and replied, "Sometimes it takes an outsider to notice what everyone else forgets." Korath growled, softly, but not in anger. Instead, he sat beside Ethan, calm and proud. In that moment, Lyra noticed something else too. Korath wasn't just loyal. He was protecting Ethan now. The human had somehow turned their fiercest beast into his companion, and maybe even his friend. The elder chief spoke again, trying to hide his fear. "Then you claim to have tamed him through kindness? Foolish human, that does not explain why he follows you." Ethan smiled faintly. "Perhaps it is not for you to understand, but for Korath to choose." The crowd fell silent again. No one had ever thought a beast could choose anything. Lyra's heart beat faster. She could see something new taking shape, not just between Ethan and Korath, but between Ethan and all of them. This human was different, dangerous in a way they couldn't fight, because he tamed not with weapons or power, but with understanding and trust. And for the first time in her life, Lyra felt the walls of her own heart beginning to crack. As Ethan gently rested his hand once more on Korath's head, she realized this was only the beginning. The test of trust. Night after Ethan's return from the dark woods, the city of Therion could not sleep. Whispers spread like wildfire about the human who had tamed Korath and about what he might do next. Lyra stood on a high balcony, watching the shadows move. Deep inside, she felt conflicted. This human had achieved the impossible, but his calmness unsettled her. What secret does he carry? She wondered. At dawn, the elder chief called a council. The elders gathered, eyes filled with doubt and fear. The chief's voice was cold. "We cannot let this human walk freely. His influence is dangerous. He has won Korath's trust, but can he win ours?" The decision was swift. "Another test," the elder chief declared. This time, it would not be just a challenge of survival, but a test of trust itself. "Human," the elder shouted across the square as the sun rose, "today you must prove that Korath obeys you completely. You will face him outside the walls, without chains, without barriers. If you survive, only then we will believe." The crowd gasped again. Outside the walls, beyond the safety of their city, lay the wild plains, an open, dangerous land. If Korath chose to turn wild again, Ethan would have no protection. But Ethan simply nodded, as if he expected this. Lyra felt her heart tighten. Do they truly want to test Korath's loyalty? Or are they hoping this will finally kill the human? Soon, the gates opened. Ethan walked beside Korath into the open plains. The wind was sharp, carrying the scent of wildflowers and distant predators. The crowd gathered on the city walls to watch. No one spoke. Ethan turned toward Korath. The beast stood tall, free of all chains. For a long moment, they stared at each other, and then, without warning, Ethan dropped to one knee, placed his hand on the grass, and set Korath free. A ripple of shock moved through the watching crowd. Korath was free, no chains, no cage, no walls. The beast could run, attack, disappear into the wild forever. Everyone held their breath. For a moment, Korath sniffed the air, lifting his massive head toward the sun, his muscles tensed as if ready to charge, and then, slowly, he turned back. The giant beast walked toward Ethan and lowered his head gently at his feet. A stunned silence followed. Ethan raised his hand again and scratched Korath behind the ear. A simple, almost playful gesture, and Korath purred, softly like a domesticated creature. Lyra could not believe what she was seeing. This wasn't control. This was trust. Ethan wasn't forcing Korath to stay. Korath was choosing to stay. The elder chief's face turned pale. His plan to break Ethan's bond had failed completely. Lyra whispered under her breath, "You didn't tame him, you freed him." Ethan turned and looked up at her, as if he had heard her words from far away, and in that moment, she felt a connection she couldn't explain. The human had passed their test, not by force, But by understanding. But Lyra knew this was not the end. Something deeper was happening. This human was more than a stranger. He was changing everything. The question now was not whether he had earned Koroth's trust, but whether he could earn theirs. The hidden beyond the wild plains were quiet again, but the air around Therion felt different, heavy with questions no one dared ask. Ethan had passed every test, but the elders still refused to trust him fully. Lyra couldn't stay silent anymore. That night, under the twin moons, she waited for Ethan outside his small camp at the edge of the city. Koroth lay nearby, his golden eyes glowing softly in the dark. He seemed calm, almost peaceful. But Lyra's heart was restless. She stepped forward, her voice low but sharp. "Human, why did Koroth choose you? What are you really doing here?" Ethan looked up slowly. He didn't seem surprised by her visit. "You feel it too, don't you?" he asked gently. Lyra frowned. "Feel what?" Ethan pointed toward Koroth. "The bond. He's not just a beast to me, and I'm not just a master to him. We understand each other's pain." His words confused her. "Pain," she repeated. Ethan nodded, his eyes distant, as if looking into a memory far away. "Where I come from. I lost everything, my family, my people. I wandered alone for years. Koroth, he feels the same. He was caged, isolated, feared, never loved. When I looked into his eyes, I recognized that loneliness." Lyra's heart softened unexpectedly. She never thought of Koroth as lonely. To her, he was simply there. Guardian, their weapon. Ethan continued. "I didn't tame him with power. I gave him something no one else ever did, understanding." Koroth rumbled softly, almost as if agreeing. Lyra sat down beside the human, staring at Koroth's large shape in the moonlight. "I thought we knew him," she whispered. "But we only feared him. We never tried to understand him." Ethan smiled faintly. "Sometimes the strongest creatures are also the most misunderstood." A silence stretched between them. For the first time, Lyra felt like she could see both Koroth and Ethan clearly, two souls from different worlds, bound by something deeper than anyone could see. Then Ethan said something that sent chills through her. "I didn't come here by accident, Lyra. I was drawn here by Koroth himself." She froze. "What do you mean?" He looked directly into her eyes. "In my dreams, I kept seeing this beast. I heard his cries across the stars. I felt his pain. That's why I came. He called to me." Lyra's breath caught. This wasn't just about taming a beast anymore. Something bigger was happening, something almost spiritual. She looked at Koroth again, seeing him not as a monster, but as a being who had been waiting for this human all along. Ethan stood slowly, brushing dirt from his clothes. "Tomorrow, the elders will test me again," he said quietly. "But the real test isn't for me. It's for all of you." Lyra didn't understand fully yet, but deep inside, she knew he was right. This human had unlocked something hidden, not just in Koroth, but in all of them. And as she walked back to the city under the stars, one thought refused to leave her mind. Maybe this human hadn't come to conquer their guardian. Maybe he had come to heal him. The alien girl's question morning came quickly. But Lyra didn't sleep. Ethan's words from the night before echoed in her mind. "The real test isn't for me. It's for all of you." In the city square, the elders gathered again, their faces filled with suspicion. Even after all they had seen, they couldn't accept that a human, a stranger, had bonded with Koroth. The elder chief raised his staff. "Human," he called, "you have passed our tests, but our trust is not so easily given. Why are you truly here? What do you seek from us?" Ethan stepped forward, his calm gaze steady. He looked not at the elders, but straight at Lyra. It was as if he knew she was the one who truly wanted an answer. Before he could speak, Lyra found herself stepping out of the crowd. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to speak clearly. "Why? Why did you really come here? Human, what is it that you want from Therion, from us?" The entire square fell silent. Ethan paused for a long moment. Then, softly, he answered, "I came because I heard Koroth's cry. But now I realize your people have been crying too, and you don't even know it." Lyra frowned. "What do you mean?" Ethan turned slowly, addressing not just her but all of them. "You have locked your guardian away for generations. You feared him, misunderstood him. But the truth is, you did the same to yourselves. The crowd murmured, confused and uneasy. Ethan continued, his voice warm and steady. You have forgotten what trust feels like, what kindness means. Korath was only a reflection of your own fear. That's why he was wild. Korath sat beside Ethan again, calm and relaxed. Lyra felt her chest tighten. She could see it now. Korath's transformation wasn't magic, it was a mirror. The human had shown the beast compassion, and Korath had responded. She whispered, almost too softly, so, you didn't come here to tame him. Ethan nodded. No, I came here to remind you that trust begins when you offer it first, even when you're afraid. The elders looked uneasy. Their power came from fear and control, but this human spoke of peace and understanding, things they didn't value. Lyra stepped closer to Ethan, her voice stronger now. Then, what happens next? Ethan smiled gently. That is for you to decide. Korath is free now. He's no longer your prisoner. He's my friend. I will leave if you ask, or I can help you remember what you've lost. The silence was heavy. For a moment no one moved. Then Korath did something no one expected. He rose, walked to Lyra, and gently lowered his head at her feet, just as he had done for Ethan. Lyra gasped. The mighty beast was showing her the same trust, the same bond. Her heart pounded. She could feel what Ethan meant now. This was more than taming a beast. It was about changing themselves. She looked at Ethan again. Stay, she said quietly. Teach us. A ripple ran through the crowd. Some elders scowled, but many aliens, especially the younger ones, nodded slowly. Ethan simply bowed his head, respectful and humble. In that moment, Lyra felt something shift inside her, not fear, but hope. This human hadn't just tamed Korath. He had begun taming their hearts too. The new Guardiana strange peace settled over Therion in the days that followed. Where there had once been fear, suspicion, and mistrust, there was now curiosity, and something even deeper, that most couldn't name yet. Hope. Korath, the beast, that had once been their symbol of power and terror, no longer roared from his cage. He walked freely through the city, silent and calm, always near Ethan's side. The children, who used to cry at the sound of his growl, now reached out to touch his thick black fur. Ethan never tried to command the aliens. He didn't speak of laws or rules. Instead, he listened. He helped them understand Korath's ways, how the beast was never meant to be chained, but to be respected. Lyra spent more and more time watching him. She couldn't deny it anymore. This human had changed everything. One evening, as the twin suns sank below the horizon, the elder chief called a final gathering. His face was grave, but his voice was steady. Today, we accept what we once could not. This human, this stranger, has done what none of us could. He has given our guardian freedom, and in doing so, he has taught us freedom too. Then the elder lowered his staff and declared, from this day forward, Ethan of Earth shall be known as the new guardian of Therion, not by force, but by trust. The crowd erupted in cheers. Even those who had doubted now felt the truth in their hearts. But for Lyra, this was more than a ceremony. She approached Ethan as the crowd celebrated. Her voice was quiet, but it carried all the emotions she had kept hidden. You didn't just tame Korath. You tamed us. Ethan turned, smiling gently. No, Lyra, he said. You tamed yourselves. I only showed you the way. Lyra's heart ached in a way she didn't understand. She looked up at Korath, the mighty guardian who now stood calmly beside Ethan, and realized that this human had taught them something they had forgotten. True strength was not in cages or control, but in trust, empathy, and understanding. And so, under the fading light of the twin suns, Therion changed forever. The alien girl who once doubted the human now stood beside him. Proud and grateful, Korath, the beast once feared, now roamed free, and Ethan, the outsider, had not only tamed their guardian, he had become one. The legend of the human who tamed Therion's fiercest guardian would be told for generations. But Lyra knew the deeper truth. This was not the story of a man taming a beast. It was the story of healing hearts and beginning anew.